Ninde Jemba de Zanje Jin La Mi De Bu Togi Namda Jin La Jiwa Jo E Da Guru Rana Mendala Gamniya Daya Mi
라조 심je라신이 여사오 제송 전에 어디다가 시디지 심지 도제에서 가나 유만 현지 지회 여사기 여사태당 여사태기 아니 가서래 다 여사지 심지 도제라 차 그러나 되니 다 대남지 오르 편아 세가나 다 되니 유만 현지 지회 여사기 셈되나 아니 냥조와랑 그 남지 제발 주도 잠바 여사기 셈되기 아니 가서를 유지 찾아 동반이 또니 유지 동반이 또니 땡랑 밥지 또니 땡랑 밥지 유지 아니 천이 무슨 천이 또와 대잖아 대남지 지금 오르 편에 냠샤기 체 아니 유천이당 유출了유전 이신이오的출了去下把也没把你那努不进努把他那哇谁个了东半年我说的马多瓦给当你囤积出去多比叫他们给那个啥操他们叫他们我等你那个啦你那努把他那哇人家一些的了你那也把钱让心去出发那样东半年多讲让心去出发那样我印象努把他那位一些去身体남들지 시래 남들지 섬이 도시
So, as we said earlier, then it says in the 8,000 verse Perfection of Wisdom Sutra, O Subhuti, the nature of mind is luminosity. I'm using the word luminosity to translate what's often translated as clear light. And this mind of luminosity or the luminosity of mind is this is in reference to, in that context, in reference also to the basal state of sentient beings before they have entered into the path and subsequently as well. And then this next topic is on the at the stage of the path when that luminosity of mind, here luminosity is referring also to this constant mind of connate luminosity. Connate means born together with. Sometimes this is translated as simultaneous or innate. There are different translations. I'm using connate, born together with. So this constant mind of connate luminosity, which exists during the basal state, during the period of the path, when that connate luminosity is at the time of meditative absorption, then the object, which is the nature itself, the true nature of the mind, that is the mind's absence, lack of intrinsic nature, lack of intrinsic existence, and the gnosis, which understands it, are like water poured into water, become indistinguishable, indivisible. Then at that time, then dual appearance disappears. And where it says here in the text that dual appearance disappears, this refers to there are multiple stages of that. During the path of accumulation and the path of application or the path of preparation, there's ways in which one understands emptiness by means of a concept, through the medium of a concept. And that conceptual understanding of emptiness, there's the dual appearance, that is, the appearance of emptiness itself as being real hasn't entirely disappeared, but as one progresses through the path, that dual appearance of the object here, reality itself or the true nature of things, gradually dissipates, disappears. And so during the stage of the path as well, while that mind, which understands emptiness, understands reality, is called the mind of gnosis, a special kind of wisdom understanding things. And when that's poured in, when like water poured in water, when those two become indistinguishably blended or mixed together, then that's called the mind vajra at the time of the path.
Oh yeah, tende inzang da semji doje de la 갈소 le 차라니 샤샤 초에서 아니 유전 라바 돈이 되be 유전 아니 시 라바 지당 돈이 되be 유 차외 sem니만 현지 제외에서 sem세가 차진 유전을 찾아 자지가 이용 거래 이다 가르자기 이나양 유라 유전 라바기 아니 유지 찾아 동반이 아니 동반이라 제주도 냠바 샤베 다지 나신 전에 오늘 초조게 내가라 니나 누바다 나신 니나 누바 마인바 대양 아니 남디지 섬지도지 체 되네 천이라 미비 냠샤 그 내가데 아니 천이라 니나 누데 천이 오심도 도디 아니 동반이 마도바 아니 니가와서 가제 나와야 이거 군족이 나와 니스 나와 자와 놈니 아니 니나 누바 된다위 니나 누비 이시대야 아니 셈지 도지 대다 바람 터나 맞아 매바체 다 라마슈 초람 저람 그네가서 니나 누바다 나와 마도 아니 니나 누바다 매바체
No. So then here it says that there's different stages of this disappearance of dual appearance, the disappearance of this dual appearance. One can speak of this when one's talking about in terms of the path, context of the path. Then it doesn't matter whether one is talking about using the kind of the cognizer here, the gnosis, which is understanding emptiness, whether you're talking about a relatively coarse form of the mental consciousness or this constant mind of connate luminosity, if one's talking about it within the context of Tantra, then in either case, through the course of the path of accumulation, the path of preparation, there are stages in which it's as though the dual appearance of the object here, which is nature itself or emptiness itself, as if that dual appearance is disappearing. However, during those stages, of course, during the state of being an ordinary person, not having entered into the path, but also when one has actually entered into the path of accumulation and preparation, it seems or it appears as if that dual appearance of nature, emptiness, has disappeared, but it hasn't actually disappeared. There's still the dual appearance to some extent. So then it's only when one achieves the Arya path, path of seeing, that one gains an initial direct perceptual realization of emptiness. And it's only in that context that this gnosis that understands emptiness does so in a fashion in which the dual appearance of subject and the object here, emptiness or reality itself, has actually, the dual appearance has actually disappeared.
Oh yeah. Then that number marching the ya come there. 아니 제비 내가라 저부산제 사이 내가라 아니 sem지 도제 간절해서나 아니 유동반이라 동반이 춘이라 라르메다메 추지 안 뒤남도야 예매바 냠샤들라 담메바 냠시 오지 냠샤기 내가라야 아니 제도 최단발라 써와 아니 현존체 그 차와 체팅바 제도지 잡아 타다 뒤지도 준비 아니 이시 개발돼 아니 제도지 아니 sem지 도점 루기 차베다보 다 대샤긴 바래.
Then the third state of this mind vajra is at the time of the result, in which the mind vajra, just as explained previously, now the mind vajra is such that it becomes inseparable at any time whatsoever from reality, in the sense that it doesn't arise out of its non-dual absorption in reality. So at that time, because it's indistinguishable in that sense, it's impossible for the mind vajra to actually arise out of that meditative absorption or equipoise on reality. And even though it's completely absorbed in that in reality in that way, it's still able to perform all of the different kinds of activities simultaneously, such as being able to teach sentient beings and so forth. So that gnosis at that time has that special property of being completely absorbed in reality, but able to perform functions at that time. And that's a special feature of the mind vajra in the resultant state.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yes, sir.
That's unique to Buddhas, and that's why it's said to be like the overlord, which pervades all of the families. That's why it's given that epithet. It pervades all of the families and is the master of them. So it's like the overlord in that way.
Oh, yeah. That is Lamdisu, ane sachi nekasu, ane kasu, nyangsha tela be dangwa mena yang, ane larmidangwa chuji nyamba meshaba, rangi samwala dute larmidangwa, jani sungwa re, tate mashana disa ya ishu ta, deche. Dea tal tela, semji doje tela lamdang, shidang, 대구 숨기 나게네 람디디 아니 람데 아니 시 가서래 시 내가서 되네 아니 가서 규디지 구수 되네 규디지 셈이 셈 가서 규디지 셈탱이 아니 셈지 도체 전에 쓰고 하래.
So then we can also, there's another way to discuss this mind vajra by including both including the path as well within the causal period, the causal time. And then if we do it that way, we include the path within the basal state as well. Then those two minds, the causal mind vajra as well as the resultant mind vajra, those two.
Oh, 규례지 셈되니 시간에 아니 시디지 아니 예사기 셈당 내디그 예사기 셈되니 친이다 따동 오예 매봐 랑신지 또비 돈이당 오예 매신 최전유지 근지 돈이데 아니 최전유지 근지 그 시답을 주의 랑신데 아니 수장 시발 면제 미니바나 아니 셈지 도체 시와기 아니 멘토바트니 마이스.
So then, thus those two, when it's talking about the mind vajra as cause, mind vajra as result, both in terms of including the path within the basal state aspect of the three base path and result, then those two, since that mind vajra, which is the luminosity of mind, is always of an indistinguishable character from reality itself, from the basic nature of things, which is they're being devoid of any kind of intrinsic existence or intrinsic nature. Then because that's the case, we can apply that to both the causal as well as the effect mind vajra. Then we can say that because it's the case that no one whosoever is able to break apart those two, the reality itself and the basic, the luminosity of mind, which is cognizing that, those two have the same fundamental character. And therefore, we can say that they exist as such, existing in effect as the basis of everything, referring to here both the environment as well as the beings that inhabit the environment, the universe as well as the inhabitants of the universe. Therefore, and because of, again, that inseparability of the nature and the luminosity of mind, therefore, that's why it's given this name, Vajra, Vajra of mind, or mind Vajra.
Oh, yeah. That and that, 아니 유지 찾아다 유전 심지 도지 아니 유전지 찾아 심지 도지 대다 조단데 흉치모다 tum바 콘투바 아니 내세 깨려와 아니 고유 가서 명아사바 아니 체주 뒤즈단 tum바 안 판토와 다도스 레송도 되와 어디 가서 천냠수 렌바나 라랑 시와 잠지 메줘바 아니 연주지 명아 샤래 시고고 군전 진짜지레
So then this way of explaining the mudra as object, the basic nature of things, and likewise as the subject, the gnosis or knowledge which understands it, in this applying it in all three states of the basal state, the path, and the result. This kind of special way of explaining it has various special good properties. It has a great empowering blessing embedded within it because it was directly experienced by the teacher that formulated it. And also we can know that it's authoritative because it accords with the explanation of the great treatises. And then likewise, it's a profound personal instruction because it's able to induce understanding in us and enable us to understand it relatively easily and to gain a kind of ascertainment of this nature more easily. And then likewise, this way of explaining it conforms or accords nicely with our continua as well, our mental continua. So it's extremely quickly beneficial in that respect as well. But it's also the case that if you're going to be a practitioner of this dharma, take it into your experience, then simply understanding this, having knowledge of this, is not sufficient. Rather, you need to hear it you need to understand it from the mouth of someone who is an authoritative master and is reliable for explaining this kind of thing.
다 초반 전에 아니 차바 가르치 그래 샤바 탐자 왔다라 아니 도지 자지 지뒤네 레바 dom자 개장까지 봐 주저다만 봐자 야사지 가서 찾아 전부 담바티 다디 샤바 탐자 와진 말이 난 네가 간데 순거래서 도지 명아 자지 지되네 해서는 네가 찾아 전부 가르쳐 버려잖아 저자대라 아니 요지 찾아 삼어 동반이다 유전지 찾아 아니你们很久这边有啥个什么的话前面事情我这边的这个是有写过的话我对아니 가르래서나 유지 찾아 아니 삼어 동반이데 가와셔 버려서나 아니 견딘 뒤숨라 도 견딘 뒤숨기네고서 아니 리벤남다 태비권에 땡라 파바기 사모동반이 되셔봐 인장 니기 유 찾아셔봐 그空的 견딘 뒤숨 견딘 뒤숨을 소리 도체 견딘 뒤숨 아니 니만에게 집에 사게 셈 대화 준비 시간 오셔봐대 아니 상황도 봐 자셔그 뒤라 송바 인장 어디 대규디셔니 상주 자셔라 시비 뒤태다기 수내지 매신 파는 애 왔대와 수 내지면 뭐 파를 아니 견디 뒤숨을 때네 퇴숨 제와라 때네 파를 우지 찾아서 뭐 동반이랑 왔대와다 상원디비 자기라 아니 퇴산 제와라 때네 유전 심지도 지니만 해지 집에 살아 아니 내가 때봐 인상 파랑 내가 때비 도지지 치된 됐다 내라도 또다 아니 명하기 단지简单 전사 명하 단지 온도 简单 온도 简给告诉아니 가르쳐 우리 sana 뭐지 제자 뭐가 제자 시 아니 가서래 제자단 뭐지 제자단 튼바 아니 실험 시실남신 남제 숨을 찾아 잡아 나시체니 네가 장 오그 제자다 튼바 유지도 아니 가서래 유지에 사다 셈 아니 셈지도 진이가 나 쳐봐줘야 다 대승부 인지래 냠리도 뛰네도 저 최제 가서래 쳐봐줘봐 마사 대단 냠리도 뛰네 온도 gen기 아니 온도 gen다 전사서 소라 자서 대비 님부 지 타다 가사지란 냠리도 뛰네 동바 잡아 다되기 온도 gen당 상원 두바 나신 체니 가사지 자서 대비 가사지 창제비 냠리도 레바 동바 잡이 아니 그게 그주바 지당 세간아 얘기 투조담 그냥 가주바 레바도 때 그냥 가주바 사바서 안에 투조담만 봐서야 야세지 제가 주어쳐다 대바 담아 배자지 취도지 야세지 아니 가이루 루서 트만 많이 봐 아니 유당 유현지 찾아쳐 보게 아니 담바지 투와 차기 자기가 다디
So then the next verse explains the promise to compose the text that the author wrote as a promise to compose, and this explaining the in general the promise to compose. So this says that having combined together or brought together the essence of the ocean of all of the oral instructions, the practice instructions found in the sutras and tantras, and this lineage of the exposition of this from the Ganden tradition, which properly instructs in this, then then I will compose an instruction on the Mahamudra according to the tradition of the father and son, the supreme adept Dharmavajra, as well as his spiritual son as well. And so that's the root text there, the second verse. And so the explanation of this is that in terms of sutra, then the sutras here refer especially to the mother sutras of the perfection of wisdom, the extensive, intermediate, and abbreviated three forms of the perfection of wisdom sutra. And then in terms of the tantras, it refers especially to the tantra of Guhya Samaja, secret assembly, including the root text and the explanations that are given to explain that tantra as well. These sutras here, the basic subject matter which is being explained again is this constant mind of connate luminosity, which is then generated into having the character of great bliss. And that's especially taught directly in the tantras, but it's also explained indirectly in the sutra approach as well. And then so here then this by bringing together all of these expositions in the sutras and the tantras, then there's no so this gives you, this provides those who study it and practice it with certainty and ascertainment about this mind Vajra. And so in that way, this way of formulating it doesn't commit any harm to oneself. It won't harm oneself. And also it is able to provide others with certainty, enable others to ascertain it if you understand it and teach it properly.
Yeah.
Then, so it's also, because of it, in that way, then it's a method by which one can very easily understand both the words and the meaning of the sutras and the tantras. And as far as the texts here which have been described, there's the treatise, which is a special practice exposition of this, which is the Sutra Alamkara, Abhisamaya Alamkara, the ornament for the realizations, and that refers
Mundo Jandang, Dransaniki, and the turn, Dransaso Sura Jazoki, Jazodaboki, Imbicita, and a Casa chicken Yamlindu, Yamgirimba, Dune, and the Lombard Levertomba Tabak, and a great exaggeration.
So then, if you take the sutras, on the sutra side, you have the Abhisamaya Alamkara, the ornament for the realizations, especially, which, although explicitly the subject matter of that text is mostly dealing with the path, the sort of implicit meaning there is actually emptiness, which again is the objective aspect of the subject which is talked about here, as well as the realizations, which are the subjective side of the subject matter, which is treated here. And then on the Tantra side, as far as expositions is concerned, then especially the Radiant Lamp text, commentary on the Guhya Samaja, those other sutras are like there's like an ocean of scriptures here, and this exposition is like the quintessence of the essence of this entire ocean of scriptures. And this exposition then is compiled in a way such that a single individual can take it into practice, and therefore this lineage of exposition of this that comes from the Ganden tradition, has been properly formulated, and in particular the supreme adept, Dharmavajra or Chugi Dorje in Tibetan, in those two masters. This is a special tradition, a unique tradition that they have transmitted down, in which this, again, instruction on Mahamudra, the objective side, which is emptiness, and the subjective side, which is the constant mind of connate luminosity generated into the character of great bliss, as a subjective cognizer of emptiness, has been formulated. And so here the author is saying, I will write a commentary on this.
Oh, yeah, that's it. That's the charging the Gajugi and a church and a casa, church down, Chabado, and a Jabba, Samaton Vanilla, and a Rebecca Jabba also draw a chambak. Reba, a Rebinam down tired be gone, and a Jabba Chabagi, Jabba also drive, and a Tule, and a Tomba Tenjum, Kangan Janla, but Tederasi, Chiton, so and I say Jacana. Tomba Tenjum down, and a Tenjum don't be turned to. Or Tomba Tenjum, Tomba Tenjum don't be turned to Tomba Yinzang, and it Castle, Yanji take a choice about it, Stumba Chalk, Jassat, de la Tene, Sanja, you command the lot of Toba Jabba Jassat, Zimbabwe, Yanji Digi, and it or Chawajaba.
So then the verse also expresses then the greatness of this oral transmission, which is held by these the great masters of the past, and it's a supreme teaching because In this method, through completing the examination of emptiness, that is, by performing all of the proper kinds of investigation into the nature of reality and understanding emptiness through numberless forms of reasoning that determine it properly and through analysis establish it correctly, then in that way, from the force of that, completing that kind of investigation, one is able to gain an understanding of emptiness, in which emptiness has as its sense dependent origination, and vice versa, dependent origination has as its sense emptiness. The two are not seen as with any kind of disparity, but rather they cooperate with each other and support each other.
Oh yeah, that there countries is na. Ani jo kunji deja tadu ne. Ani jo kunse da yuan kundan dambagi. Ani asa zobe sanje ju kombateres. Kola kutela chokugres. Ani sanje ju kombande. Ani jume kemela machuma. Jidan ko baba nasi mayimba. Te tab xiangji kangijang duba minibes. Te tab xiang kangijang mijiba duje tiba sumji lam irimba. 루제 티바 준비 남지를 받아 다시니 못되게捐타다 고진 티바 숨지 연단 타다 르께바 시바죠 괴베 대라 온도 안에 가서를捐고바기捐대다 르바다捐고바를 제바기 타당 아야 다 싫어부터 저 아니 시와치고 그래 티바 숨지 연단지 르다다 께바 시바지 께바시 괴베 대랑원지捐타다 만 아니 만제와 시와 제벽이 아니 태와고 그래 이러 만제와 집에 태와 내가 와제 태와라 때네 아니 교인지를 때다 만제와 시와 제 시위 제대다 아니 퇴위 된다다 아니 300곰 델레텔라 곰증이냐와 기억과 이제 되기 아니 가서라 시제대라 퇴위 천대 마찬이 퇴외 천남 시와 제 다捐到原点的他写完下去，捐几日的开始的，原点几日开始的，因为告诉退休写了点过，退完全那么写完去，退完第2多把钱谁干了？俺你他哪年写就开始的，是那捐写一干了，俺你捐太大给，俺你告诉的。没得吧？让你东岸的做过为台湾地来多把钱，捐给我现在捐太大，俺你捐些外地把人多把钱吧。台湾台嘛人把帮，谁个给第一出这么几老话点个，台湾团了都把点谁干了，每个就问个出这么人多吧，出这么几老话点。台湾台嘛人把帮，谁干了，俺你顶个人几老啊，台湾嘛人把。在那边拉说话，情况拉说话，他听着给台湾马人把，顶个进来因为觉得在帮一下啦，台湾马人把帮谁干了？俺你顶个自己拉把单，台湾让俺带把头谁干了？俺你写到进来吧，我写到进来把单呢，但我听人讲他们台湾的钱，天天出动进来哇，天天顶个人进来哇，天天俺你写到进来哇，
So then, likewise, this is this special kind of perfect understanding of this is la kibukungi ducha tartu.
대자 타도 경고서 연대한테 산재 코나를 쳐고래 대탑창 현 관계장 두면에배 두제 티바스미 남지 림바게 아니고 림바 티바스미 남라데나 두고 티바집에 남지 림발레나 고고레스 티바집에 남지 림바데기 아니 셰럽게 찾아다 그 견타다 고바 쳐봐야다 견타다 고지 티바스미 연대지를 타다 깨바셔바시 고고레스
So now regarding this, all the ultimate thing which is to be desired by all beings, all great persons who wish to follow the path, is the ultimate objective of that is solely Buddhahood, which which has as its basic property the extinction of all faults and the completion or possession of all good qualities. And since there's no other method apart from the method which is being taught here, that is understanding the nature of reality properly to achieve Buddhahood. Therefore, if someone wishes to enter into the Mahayana path, the stages of the Mahayana path, so as to accomplish this, then by means of that, they'll be able to eliminate all sorts of faults and be able to develop all of the different kinds of different sorts of good qualities that are found within the three vehicles. So a person who is wishing to practice the Mahayana has to be able to master all of the different aspects of the path, not only the specifically Mahayana paths, but those of the other vehicles as well. And since that's the case, as a preliminary for that, first of all, one has to properly understand, without confusing them or mixing them up in any way, the entirety of all of the different sorts of good qualities and faulty sorts of things. One has to be able to distinguish them properly, and that in turn is entirely dependent upon hearing about these, hearing them properly, listening to teachings on them. That's the most important thing at the beginning is gaining a lot of hearing and study of this subject matter. As proof for that, it says in a text called the Udana Varga that by hearing one will understand the Dharma, all of the different Dharmas. By hearing, one will turn away from negative kinds of actions. By hearing, one will abandon that which is not valuable. And by hearing, one will attain liberation. One will attain nirvana. Now, what is explained here is that as a preliminary to any kind of practice of the path, one first has to hear about it. One has to understand properly what is good, what is a good quality, what is virtuous. One has to understand properly what is negative kind of behavior, what is faulty in practice. And in addition, so simply by hearing that, then one can understand that. Then based upon that understanding, one is able to take up the higher practice of ethical conduct. And that's what's referred to in the second line of this verse. By hearing, one turns away from negativity, negative actions. That's referring specifically to the practice of ethical conduct. And then by hearing, one will abandon that which is meaningless or not valueless. That has reference to the higher training in meditative concentration, where one abandons the sinking and scattering and so forth kinds of mental states which prevent the achievement of meditative stabilization. Then finally, through hearing, one will achieve nirvana, meaning actualize the result of the path, and particularly develop the higher training in wisdom that is the instrument by which one achieves nirvana. So in all ways, then, hearing is at the very beginning and carries through the rest of the path as well.
Oh, yeah. Tue nyangan dewa top si kala sherab ki lawa teki ani nyangan dewa top hai. Sherab ki lawa teki toni tobe sherab la che. Ani toni tobe genji ani zawa de ani danze mari pala tuba yinba yinzang. Ani dame tobe sherab ki gyun tamje je zawa danze mari pa goba cheba yinzang. Danze mari pa bambe 아니 견지리 타다 세바기 세바 토바인자 퇴배양아 대와 톱 셰로글라베.
So when it says there, by hearing one will attain nirvana, this is referring again to the higher training of wisdom, and that is specifically referring then to the wisdom which understands emptiness, That there then, what is the fault or the negative thing which is to be gotten rid of. It's primarily the misapprehension of the self. A misconception of the self is the opposite of the wisdom that understands emptiness, and therefore through the good quality of the realization of emptiness, understanding of emptiness, is that it eliminates and removes the misconception of the self, holding the self as being intrinsically existent. And that in turn then, so that training in higher wisdom functions then as that direct realization of emptiness functions as the agent which allows one to eliminate the basic fault, or the most fundamental fault, which is the misconception of the self. And in that way, by eliminating that, then one is able to actualize nirvana.
Oh yeah, that day, when you get your command, Namjang, Michebe Chitu, Madrube Chichung, so on, I say. Michebe down, I don't Chitu to do a chair, you are mad, do a chair, can't do a do a chair to hear what you go in down. Michebe in down to a chair, you are mad. Michebe Chitu. Madrube Chichung, and do a yams malaba in bed, never to a mare by in down, Madrube Chichi Somba, Chichung Song. Sumba Yang, Ani Tewata, Samba, Wombati, that in Bashin to go or come on the talk about the Sungari.
This is just as earlier Geshes have said, earlier spiritual friends, virtuous friends have said that if you don't know anything, what can you do? What can you accomplish? If you don't practice, what will arise? So what they're saying there is exactly the same thing, that if you don't learn something, if you don't hear it from a qualified teacher, if you don't study it properly, then you don't have anything to meditate upon. And if there's nothing to meditate upon, then there's no way that one can develop any kind of wisdom. So these three, the hearing, meditation practice, and the wisdom that arises from as a culmination of that, all cooperate or arise in that sequence. Therefore, the study and hearing a subject is essential at the beginning.
Oh, did Rimbata Ani Jaja Chamba Gombejang, Dodejang Nagaso, did not tambo tella then Sushin Yilla Chapacho. Sushin Yilla Chapa, Combayanda, and I see Jung, see Tambo Tewa, Tewite, and Samba, Sambi Tende, and no Gomjong. I know Gomjong that I know what can that was embarking to talk about. So do I. With 10 I say, I need Namda Ribeto, soon after, Fishing Shell, I sent him me job, Kava come to a tire sooner than one, maybe Tawa Chaba Shaw, and Tonda some Malajabana Sita, I know that Tawa catch was showing about it.
So this is expressed also in the ornament for the realizations by Lord Maitreya, in which he said that it's only through hearing a teaching, that one then has something to meditate upon, and then only from meditation practice, then one develops understanding and realization of it. And so that sequence is taught in that text as well. It's likewise similarly taught exactly the same way in the prayer, which is virtuous in the beginning, middle, and end, where it says that all good qualities arise from hearing, studying a subject, and learning subjects in the proper and then once you've learned something, then you actually put it into practice, or make it part of your experience, and so all of these texts agree in the same, saying the same thing in different words.
Oh, that's enough. Kongi Shaba Tamja Tegi, Gunjan Tena, Toma, and a carrier, Sana, Dojim, Ani Yendi Dusunda, Sawan Dubagi, Ani Doji, just a Montola, Tewala Sam, can't tell you tender part to Banyamlengi, and Tetaki Yumbo Dune, and a Rango combatant, Shiala Yan Teta Lever Domba Zebe, and a Tota Pato, Tomata, Tamata Pato Javid, Gadan Racing, or Manoa, Tam, or Castle, Tam Tawa, 고름 마주봐 오다 체제 숨 체제라나 매배 개발도 제와디 안다디 강 샤바 차에 탐자기 안에 체제 숨 거래 개발도 제와 인생
So therefore,
그래서
no.
내가 통만 도지 야지 명아 그태와라 잠대 세가라 다또 뒤세대 가라 또 세라 파로 침바다 주 상원 자소 상원 되바기 아니 도지 자소 다고 안에 태와라 잠 태와치수 되네 파도 주바 냥소 연주지 인부 주네 아니 랑게 냥소 lem바 맞아야 샹라야 대다 레바 돈바 제베 아니 토다 파도도 통마다 타는 파도 개위 까당 제신 아니 오마노와 장마상와 장창와 고름 마주바데 체지 라나메 바다 아니 라나메 베체바데 샤바이시 디 슌디 스고르와 샤바는
So thus, the commentary is explaining that thus this text that we're examining, we're learning here, was composed in such a way that first the master who composed it engaged in a great deal of study. He studied the entire ocean of all of the sutras, the tantras, together with the instruction text that derive from the sutras and tantras. The sutras again referring especially, like in particular, to the three forms of the Perfection of Wisdom Sutra, the tantras chief in particular to the Guhya Samaja, as well as the various commentary texts which are composed with respect to the Guhya Samaja. And he studied all of those properly, and then after he had done that, then he performed practice. He practiced them and brought them into his own experience. And out of that experience that he achieved through that, he boiled it down to the very essence of the heart of these great scriptural collections. And then also he composed this text so as to be able to properly instruct others in this same subject. And so therefore he combined it at the beginning, in the middle, and at the end. Together he connected all of this with the speech of the victor, the Buddha, and in its basic character, it's unerring. It contains within it the entirety of all of the different subjects that are to be covered. And likewise, there's no confusion within the sequence in which the topics are presented. So therefore, this text is special in the sense that it has these special features that in a completely unexcelled fashion.
Oh, yeah. 오다 대충 되게 아니 장고라마 정가와 첨벽이 남다도 너뒤바데 땡겨 와레스 너뒤바 내쳐와시 인데 장고도 정가와 첨벽다 디나라 도지 디레마라 소아나 신체네 담보자치 터와 만도사 파투숑루 탐제 담바샤 타만 인장 군도 냠소랑 군단 잠바 제외 치동 추지 숨지 뒤말라네다 거진 쳐와 지지 챔비 때릴 세와 그가 오다 장고라마 정가와 집이 남단 너뒤바지 숑팀 임버뒤와레스.
So then, in order to recognize the greatness of this teaching as well, then we also would need to mention here, it's important to mention at least a brief, the account of the great master Manjunatha, the king of Dharma, that is here referring to Je Tsongkhapa. So there's just a brief mention of this at this point in the text where, here in the commentary, it quotes Je Tsongkhapa's own account of his activities. And in that, there are verses which read as follows. At first, at the beginning, I sought a great, vast amount of study, of hearing. I listened to the teachings extensively. In the beginning and in the middle, all of the various treatises and the systems of explanation appeared to me as personal instruction practices. Then at the end, I practiced them, I took them up in my experience and practiced them night and day. And all of this I dedicated for the benefit of the teaching of the victors and the expansion of the teaching itself, the spread of the teaching. And then if you think in this way, I thought in this way, and I achieved my goal in this way. And this great kindness, it was this great kindness or benefit that occurred to me is the treasure that I received from the knowledge of the great, from the Lord Himself.
Oh yeah, that didn't don't any go. 아니 대부 타바다 타제 첨바 이랑 야와 그외 따와데 아니 차쟁기 사제 첨복이 아니 유지 따와데 코나 얘기 어 대마인바기 라시지 좀 따와데 마인베 대마인베 따와 현 수장 아니 갑디 타바다 삼지 첨복이 있다 저바기 따와고 코미셔봐 어 제라메 따와 남다단 대외 동아 동아지 담보 용조 준비 투지 뒤수민비 가상 나나 매바시긴 사탄 된다디 그 된다 차쟁기마 순샤대 제라메 따와 남다단 제비 동아지 담보 용조 준비 투지 뒤수민비 가상 나나 매바시긴
So then this the subject matter here is the view, and the view here is an unexcelled view. It's the view which explains again this view is the view which is definitely necessary for the achievement of either kind of result, whether one's talking about the results that arise from the practice of sutra or the practice of tantra, and likewise whether one's talking about the achievement of liberation alone or the achievement of omniscience as such. One definitely has to have this view, and it is the only view that will work for that. There are other views which are given the name of view, but they don't work. And because that's the case, if we
동아지 담보 용소 준비 투지 뒤수민비 가상라나 매바시레 가와상브레.
So we should think then that since that's the case, we having gained an opportunity to receive this, that we are someone who has an incredible, unexcelled kind of good fortune, and that has arisen for us at this particular time. And that this actually has arisen for us out of the incredible kindness of Gelama Tsongkhapa, because he and those who have followed him and developed an understanding that is able to hold the entirety of the teaching of the sutras and tantras connected with this pure view. This opportunity that's arisen for us is due to do that.
Oh yeah, that they will look busy to teenage 나를 벤젤로사 이시라 소보시기 아니 깨와치마 밀리토바 에톱 쉬웨 톱송 땀바다 아자 쉬웨 가모용 송스 제라미 땀바다 에자 셰웨 쉬웨 헤헤 소남다 이시 초라오지 소거와 인송 오 신송 대다 순에 로스부네 순에 아니 삼시와 지게 삼나 제라미 천 퇴설 때네 셴 마주양 미제바 코나 때네 되게 위치에 소대디 최대될 수나자 how was that?
So out of this, then there's a story that illustrates the degree to which we've, the kind of good fortune that we've achieved, the fact that we are incredibly fortunate to have this opportunity. There's a story that previously Panchen Losang Yeshe was asked a number of questions by a Mongol, and the Mongol said, am I going to get a human body in my next life? And Panchen Losang Yeshe said, yeah, you'll get that. And then the Mongol said, am I going to meet with the teaching in my next life? And then Panchen Losang Yeshe said, yeah, that will come. You'll get that too. And then he said, well, am I going to meet with the teaching of Je Lama, Je Tsongkhapa? And then Panchen Losang Yeshe said, well, that really depends upon you having accumulated a huge mass of wisdom, of merit and wisdom. You need to accumulate that in order to meet that. So that being the case, then if you're someone who is intelligent and is impartial with respect to that, you think about that, then simply being born into a place where the name of Je Lama, Je Tsongkhapa is heard is pretty amazing itself. And it's something that Mikse Makona Dune du Gubet Tsuyong. Mikse Ma.
Kona Dune Doku Tsuyus. Mikse Makona Sasani Doku, Shamba Mashinaya.
So even if you don't do anything else, you don't understand anything else, if you simply, one way that you can get this is by reciting the Miktsema, that prayer that's devoted to Je Tsongkhapa.
Yeah, that didn't that. Kasore, that Tudum Dambada, Monday, Tudenji, Dandy, and a jungle and Matongo chip, Dampa Yonzola, then Tubashi. Dampa Yonzo, Chewa, then Tubashi, and a teenager Chico race. That Zana, and a TV Jesu, Juba Nimbochi, TV Zonga, Tsuchun Tower, Joe, Segala, or TV Jesu, and Juba Nimbochebata. Give it Zonde, and a koala, Tsuchun Tower, Juata. Tamjo Masubala, Majin Yunkuchuma. Then if we think about it in that way, then simply yeah. Manda children and dembing on it, Jangola Metamba Yonzola, Yonzoga, and a chow turn to Bashi, and a Chinachu grace on it.
So therefore, we need to hear this kind of instruction for someone who is able to explain in its entirety the complete teaching of Je Lama, of Je Tsongkhapa, and we need to see and be able to, did you get that? Oh, you understand that one? Jilama, tuje zik guso.
Ah, I too much.
Jilama dimba yongzogi chewa, dun tubashi.
Chewa dun tubachiko, China is good. Tuje zik. So
we really need to see this as something that we, the author of this commentary is actually saying, you should please see it in this way. He's saying politely to us, see that we need to have that kind of esteem for this instruction which has been passed down from, and as due to the kindness of Je Tsongkhapa as well as the lineage coming from him.
Oh yeah, that take Shaba Jaba the Shaba Tam Jaba the Chintane. That didn't oh Jongo Jusumla, 시위 측디 예와 되비 중도 체내에서 담보들라다 조와라 숨 조와들라 잠도 섬제 년대 차와 아니 사장 원도 차와 손대 양양 차와 전에 숨 유비 나네 아니 다 딜라 종의 주숨래 잠대 담방의 샤반 딜라 숨 조와당 의시당 주숨래 양다 양살 제와대도가 주숨래 다 담보대 가르에서나 저와들 숨보대 담보라 저와라 접숨nen데 저와 담보 땡당 특전라 주비고당雄心실 카담 특장 마이 배점도 섬제nen데 차 오이다 대라 간데 송고래서 당에 담보 땡당 특전지 담보라 주 산제지 담보라 주비고당 특전지特别情报的主兵国的，看这里是三届了的，三届级担保了主兵国的，讲不出什么气场，讲不出当。特别情报了主兵国的，俺那长久什么印象？讲不出那么大前面呢，那特别三，那么三届被查都没出吧？长久个什么呢？特别情报查都没出吧印象。印象谈不单单推荐了主兵工党、主兵国党，长久的什么的特别情报雄心一比7岁。甚至提交남지雄心的전에 라브린 뒤된 소만 남신 아니 가장 책장 마인비 아니 다 잠도 섬제 난데 차 책장지 마인바 아니 다 잠도다 섬제 아니 대다 규조 참여권에 치고래서 다 자고랑 된다 대인지.
So now we've arrived at the actual instruction itself, which is found begins with the next verse. So then there's three subdivisions of this. There's the kind of preparatory practices, the actual practices, and then the what you do subsequent to the main practice itself. And here this is explained in the text. So with respect to the preparatory kinds of practice, there are three subdivisions of that. One needs to perform going for refuge and developing bodhicitta in a very fervent sort of fashion. Then one needs to also purify oneself amass a great mass of merit and purify oneself of negativities, and then also perform prayers of request repeatedly. So the first of these is explained in the next verse, which follows, which says that the entrance way to the teaching in general and the Mahayana in particular, at the very beginning, and the sort of foundation of it is going for refuge and developing bodhicitta. Not just with your mouth, not with mere words, but doing so in a very fervent fashion. And so here it says then that this is referring then that the entranceway to the teaching in general is going for refuge. And then in addition to that, if one is entering into the Mahayana, then the entranceway to that, based upon refuge, but in addition to that, is to develop bodhicitta. And the verse here is saying that we can't do that just verbally or thoughtlessly, but rather have to do it fervently from with a great deal of strong emotion attached to it.
안에 대래 차바 대상 알아서 잠도 섬지 쳐봐 나신 이제 알아서 담아와기 안에 잠도라 꾸졌습니다 안에 동안에 교회 저와 잠당 섬지라 나나면 뭐 창주 대바 전부 예장 안에 창주 토부 주소 강라야 믿다와 잠도 주소 강라야 주소 강라야 믿다와 안에 소수이 책잠 장소 따부당 책을 거와 차담라 책잠 세를 잠들지 시도 잡아쳐와래 야
So then it says, with respect to going for refuge and developing bodhicitta, if one does that just like singing a song, then that's that's the form of the mere mouth, verbal form of going for refuge. You're reciting the formula, but not really thinking about it, and it's just sort of like a song that you've taken up. And then a little bit, even slightly better than that, perhaps, is that nowadays a lot of us ordinary people, when we are engaging in going for refuge and developing bodhicitta, we sort of have a kind of a wish to go for refuge, and we think we have a little bit of sort of some kind of desire to become Buddhas for the sake of all sentient beings. But because we haven't spent a lot of time developing the sort of prerequisites for that, doing all of the practices that support this and that serve as the sort of basis for it, then it becomes, what we're doing is just kind of reciting words, and it doesn't become much more than that. And we're sort of like, sort of basically counting the numbers of refuge, times we go for refuge, or times we go for develop bodhicitta. But it's other than, it's just sort of like the words coming out of the mouth rather than and mere words in that way.
我的大家希望那些些，老人告诉三千人的担保人，担保了就不过担保讲话，送啊那些钱的担保，安尼那么三千位担保了就被讲着，安尼推荐给熊，甚至可能我一张，第一了安尼看上特张马英包给，安尼参与唱完了，南天白过过来是，台马边呢，原来一那么张钱。 安尼里边呢，跟开发了说话先看越讲，讲着参加就没呢。安尼三节给担保我出国买的，我没做吧。哦，越没讲，安尼让说让个就来越没。哦，这问吧，往这里也没怎么样吧。哦，看啥让给人来越没，说就来越没这个呗。但讲着没呢，安尼有了参加困难那天。 报道为说那些那天下马是几多呗？他从三节去代表国没水马去接，俺那看的时候嘞，讲着没把人这三节去对，我马就事情，俺那当俺让出，就再说俺让出到高级全部那全部都把在，是我讲着的，那么三节人把来，俺那讲着那么大个把的，俺那那切学差了，
So it's like we said previously that the basis of the teaching is going for refuge, and then if you're talking about Mahayana teachings, it's developing bodhicitta, but it's not sufficient to simply utter the words and to think that that's enough, even if you do it a lot, or for example, counting how many times you do it. And amassing a great number of times that you say the formula of I go for refuge, or I wish to become a Buddha for the sake of all sentient beings. Those things are not sufficient. Rather, one has to exert a great deal of effort so as to develop the attitude of going for refuge, as well as all of the prerequisites and then the practices that pertain to the development of bodhicitta. If one doesn't do that in the proper way and actually exert a great deal of effort to do that, then it becomes mere words and so forth. It was said by previous lamas, geshes, that one of the reasons that the teachings have gone into a decline in recent, later, is that there isn't enough refuge and development of bodhicitta, exertion placed at that. Whether one is wearing monks' or nuns' garments or not, whatever sort of external appearance that a person gives doesn't really necessarily determine the degree of refuge or bodhicitta that is being developed. Rather, it has to do with the internal sort of attitudes and the thought and the effort that the person is putting into it. And when we're thinking about this in this way, we have to apply this to ourselves, not worry about others, other people, what they're doing, but rather we have to examine ourselves and think, am I individually really, do I have refuge? am I developing bodhicitta? That's what is being expressed here.
Oh yeah, that in the Jamdru Yemeki, and then number Sanja tried to music Sudi, and it gave a kettle tamje, and it combat in be Nezudi, and it's the answer to make a castle. Kaisun or Resana. Oh yeah, the Bichamo Sendiwa, Lama Silimba, Chowo Chambo. 하지소 파유지 케르 마음보에 친하게 개발야 잠도 남다기 관에 제신 오 잠도 치단하게 개발에 잠도 남다기 제신 대당 팀바 지진 사변 기장 잠도 면에 쳐와 미 제송받아 나바산자 많이 제송받아 잠도 주단 정의 난단도 거대 세워다 난단도 고그래 되게 거대 아니 파탐바게장 논의场所 工作什么对是一个了记录了你看这几重阳아니 라마工作了吧이 가서罗领级叫我去过过一张논의场所 工作什么对起了修炼穷我听着哇写送给起来我되게 아니 잠도 거야 대당 대신도 아니 다 장주지 섬제 와대 특별 첨부 주고 인바대 아, 장치 섬제 주나 깨지기 코비자라던 배냠다고 아니 대시섬지 세지学자지 지대 함이 제베 찾아 주를 써야 돼. 오다 되기 제 되기 섬제대 안에 티제남지 주고 임바 준주고 농대체 대제나 조지 첨배자 티제 최고 주대배 민세 동화 시제바 인다답에 장주 섬 아니 특별히 안에 람라 주바 당gen기 아니 가서래 머리비 멤버 세와 제바당 아니 차동기 동아 시월 제바데라 인다답이 자주 셈스를 간다다 군저 자주 그선다 대한답이 자주 지셈데 가와란 베베 깨아중 시와 특별히 주고당 어디 자주 셈지지 주고당 테르마세 나게 가서야 나노안건장도 상위다보 탐제진비 이신이 인제 자와래 총화인 장주기 섬지 줄에 총화인 탑제 타침바 인호 시승바다 특진지雄心 인배 어다 되니다雄心 인배 지나 강지처지 급도 소수의 중공지 담바 탐제지 섭지 지체장 아니 지체장 가서 지체them 원명원로라 아니 잠도 섬지겠지 맨다겠지 도성검대겠지 남면나죠겠지 아니 사실 믿음 바 매진스다 도성도 야 단대 번 사중아 야 하고서 다들 말 좀 강하시고 뭐 어디 농단전 또 나오셔라
So then, thus in the auto commentary it says, so first one has to enter into the entrance way to the teaching and to the Mahayana, and the foundation of it is proper refuge and proper generation of bodhicitta, making effort towards that, and even if one sees the nature of, in order to see the true nature of mind, because that depends upon the accumulation of merit and the purification of obscuration, then one should engage in the recitation of the 100-syllable mantra 100,000 times, as well as the engaging in the hundreds of confession practices. And by doing those as much as possible initially, then one also should again and again beseech from one's heart one's root guru, who is indistinguishable from the Buddha, all the Buddhas of the three times. So then the auto commentary to that says that that the great Acharya or great master Shantipa, as well as the guru of Suvarnadvipa, and Joachimpo, the great Atisha as well, all of the great masters and adepts of the land of the Aryas, India, all of them together differentiate whether one is a Buddhist or a non-Buddhist by whether one is taking refuge in a pure fashion. And similar to that, the great Lord Sakyapandita said that if one doesn't have refuge, then one's not a Buddhist, one's not a follower of the Dharma. So therefore, one has to combine the refuge with mixed refuge within your own mental continuum and make a great deal of effort for doing that. Likewise, the great master Damba Padamba Sangye said, Lo Ningdren Tsum, Lo Ningdren Tsum, Ningdrang, Lo Ningdrang Tsum. One needs to place one's mind in the very core of one's mind, place them within the three jewels, and in that way, the empowerment or blessing will arise from them, from that force of that refuge that you take. O Dingriwa, people of Dingri. So he said that. And then similarly, Shantideva, the great master, protector Shantideva said, if one has generated bodhicitta in a single instant, for a single instant, then the beings that are bound tightly in the prison of samsara, then one will be called a child of the Sugatas, the Buddhas, and all of the humans and gods within the world will praise you. He said that, and then likewise, great Ashisha as well said, if one wishes to enter into the door of the Mahayana teaching, then bodhicitta is like the sun and the moon, which clears away darkness and pacifies the oppression. So, and where it says the bodhicitta is like the sun and the moon, the sun there refers to the ultimate bodhicitta, the wisdom that understands emptiness, and then the moon refers to the conventional or phenomenal bodhicitta, the aspiration to become a Buddha for the sake of all sentient beings. And by making effort at that if one was to exert oneself for that, for eons, with that would be suitable. So therefore, Atisha said that it's the entranceway to the Mahayana, and not only that, it says also in the Vairochana Abhisambodhi Sutra that there the Buddha is addressing the Vajrapani and says, "O Lord of the secrets of the Guhyakas, or secret beings, the gnosis of the Omniscient One arises from the root of compassion." And it arises from the cause of bodhicitta, and then it is perfected by it is the culmination of method as well. And we'll stop there.
Oh yeah, that in the Tambala Chibuko Chamdo Emeki, and a Sanja Gita, Council number Sanja Chumoju, and a Chamdo, and a Gila Jabala Kandre, Sera, that Tela, Toma, Kala than a Jesuit Jew. And a teller than a Jesuit of you. Chisam just on you too. Just on a live and Bache, that is Jangalamatonga or Chambogi, Jeremy Sheso, she was a Mazana, Anita, Jibakana, to be Jamdo under your Maris. Toma, Kala than a Jesuit Judan. Tell her then a Jesuit drove Kala Jesuit Drosagi, you. Chisam just saw you too. Just on and love gentry love chat, Remba, Sheso, she was Shiga Mazana, 아니 지바 칸에 잡도바 그 점도 용도 용 말이.
So then J. Rinpoche has said that now as far as going for refuge is concerned, we said that it's the entrance, the door to the teaching. But the way we have to do this in a complete and proper fashion, we have to have the cause for going for refuge, fear of suffering of the lower realms and so forth. And then we also have to have an object for going for refuge, that is someone who's able to provide the protection of refuge. And then likewise, we have to do it in the proper way. We have to engage in the going for refuge in the proper way. And then likewise, in addition, finally, the fourth factor is observing the precepts and instructions that are given that and practices that pertain to going for refuge. All four of those have to be complete in order to have a full, proper kind of refuge.
다 근데래서나 담보 강라 때문에 접수 줘봐. 니 강라 때는 토마 강라 때문에 접수 줘비 주되면나 아니 저기 속고 말해. 주면나 접수 줘비 주면나 저기 미소. 대라 때문에 접수 줘봐 그 유면나 니와면나 아니 그와 매주 접이 그와 매주 유면나 접수장 그와 매주. 되네 제삼지 접수 소위 추되면나 아니 접수 좀 먼저 그 산산 미심바 접수 소나 라와 체외 림바되면나 아니 그와 매주바 임배 아니 시상고 그래.
So we have to have all four of these because, first of all, if we don't have the cause for going for refuge, then we won't be impelled to do it. We won't start in the process. And then if we don't have the proper object to go to for refuge, then it would be purposeless. We won't achieve any kind of objective. If there is no refuge as such, then even if we tried to go for refuge, then there would be we wouldn't achieve anything from it. Then likewise, if we have to do it in the proper fashion, if we don't go for refuge in the proper fashion, we won't accomplish our aim in the process of going for refuge. And then likewise, finally, the different things that are to be observed once one has gone for refuge. If we don't observe them properly, then we similarly will not complete and achieve the result of going for refuge that we're seeking.
Oh yeah, 다 담보되라. 토마 강라 때는 접수 주되라. 되나 다른 다그 라시아 탐제 동안에 자지. 아니 땐지 대와 대위 라신주 줍나 아니 줍투바 라신 동안에 자지 땐지 대와 라신주는 줍투바데 가르래서나 줍니지 시장 거위 신예거든 아니 거위 신예다 땐 나게 见라 아니 탄조기 땐라라 예비 아니 여바디 내가서 아니 다 맞주나 니네 아니 니니도 지나 아니 레사바게 가샤 레사바 가자 되네 아니 다 그치 먹어 니니도 지나 아니 레지 제소잖아 저와 거 주나 내 응사 빌레라니 아니 드랑게 디바 마도 디바 샤다라 마도 마데베 아니 니네 집에데 나선도 또나 나선도 또인데 아니 차장 조금 그 집아 빠도면 번용 거와 이장 공부 인자 아니 대다위원 안성 저 코바당 안성 그 동안 대다라 직신 장네 아니 장네 아니 잡초위 로마도 로현 그 제사면 봐도 정거래서 완성 그 동안라 직신 장나 코바당 안성라 직신 잡이 직자제 주나 대래 껴와게 아니 잠도 찔러 지그래.
So then as far as the cause is concerned, we have to have, from our side, some kind of understanding of the nature of things, and then also we have to have a spiritual master or virtuous friend who's able to provide us with instruction in this and refuge, the refuge itself. instruction in the refuge. And then in particular, we have to come to understand our own situation, how it is that we are persons who have accumulated in this life and in previous lives a vast amount of negative karma, that this negative karma is sort of latent within us, ready to manifest. And if we don't do something about the situation that we're in, then it's virtually inevitable that the negative karma that we've accumulated will ripen in the next life, such that once we die, we'll transmigrate from this life into another life. And that next life, because of the negative karma that we've accumulated in the past, is almost inevitably going to be of an extremely suffering kind of existence, an existence of great torment. So without understanding this basic situation that we're in and the condition of our having accumulated karma, and then also having someone who can show us a way out of the situation, then we don't have as a sort of basic cause within ourselves to impelling us to go for refuge. There's no basic cause for it.
Oh yeah. Not Russian Sanjan Tamja, Kowadan, I saw good to one like Jixin Jan. Dinala, and the Sisi Bala in Jixin Jan. Tell a Gubin Nuba, Jixin Jan, tell a Gubin Nuba, Lama Kujasum Yoba, Yishivi, Lama Kujasum like Shameba, and Yishivi, Yishuna, and a Jamdoki, good time.
So if we then have a kind of confidence in, first of all, understanding the situation in samsara, and then also understanding likewise that even if we were to achieve nirvana, we have there's limitations there, and so we have a kind of fear of falling into, especially the lower realms of existence, but in any kind of form of existence at all in which suffering obtains. Then we have that fear as a foundation, and then understanding, in addition to that, and firm confidence that the three jewels, Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, have the ability and power to be able to protect us from that fate of falling into extreme suffering in the next life. That kind of fear and confidence in the fear in the result of suffering, and confidence in the ability of the refuge to provide protection from that is the basic cause for going for refuge.
Oh yeah, and it do the time, and it tell it to be, and it jumps Zawana, and it jumps Zawana, and it all like Jama in Bashabaki, and it or cost $1,000,000. And it job like Carres and Sanjay Shetan could do the Tabata Navi job, Seva, job the and it job them about Sanjay, Jamu, job driver, that's a chokun, could do good day, job soon, and it tell Connell just a drama.
Then as far as the object of refuge is concerned, then we have to understand that only the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha are the actual refuge. That is, any kind of other supposed refuge won't actually provide us with the protection that we're desiring here. And therefore, we have to have that firm understanding that it's specifically Buddha, Dharma, Sangha is refuge that is able to provide protection and provide us with the means to achieve liberation from that which we're afraid of, suffering, and understanding that they are the actual refuge.
When you just draw, could also what I just draw a ribbon between them, and it just draw between them. Ranchi Batata Latro, Shanji Balatro, Tavlake, Gula Tuji Chamber, remember to Juba. And it all a panta, Madaki, and it turned them to Juba, said they, and it take it on Tabachi, or that tended you go ares. Jam Sawala, Tela, and Sanja Mato, Teta Midumba Shala, Miduba in there, and Sanja down, tea then be chet down, tea to be Gundisum corner. Corner, and that's what some jet of the Jibala Japan news or Yamdo, and you could just touch it.
So then we have to determine with exact certainty that it's only the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha that are able to provide refuge fully and in the specific kind of refuge that we're seeking here. That is, the Buddha is the unique teacher, the unique being that teaches the Dharma. The Dharma is the unique method by which one can achieve liberation and freedom from suffering. And then the Sangha is the unique assistant that is able to help us to achieve that liberation. We have to understand exactly that for both ourselves individually as well as for all other sentient beings, that only the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha have these special qualities that make them the true and perfect refuge.
Oh yeah, 대다 리바티 리비고네 아니 군조선보데 교바 뉴스냐도 타 제베 아니라 가와 사버 제디 아니 접수 들어와라 리와다고 주나 아니 된다디 가소래 유칸라 접수 쏘와 세게 아니 사체 되게 된다도 주바인 말이.
Then if you've understood this exactly and determined it without any kind of uncertainty at all, then when one knows this properly, a sign of this will be the delight that you'll experience from understanding this properly, that there is a refuge, that the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha are the true and perfect refuge and the unique refuge that's able to provide me with the freedom from suffering that I fear.
Oh yeah, then 대숨 산재군조 체육군조 군조군조 선보 소속이 아니 연대당 아니 군조숨 제체바당 아니 지난해 산재대 잡던바보당 최년대 잡어당 아니 군도대 잡주비 다조수 주비 촌에 아니 잡수 들어와 아니 랑기 얘기 탐자신 아기 캔랑데 아니 저기 시선 잠도 처음에 차바를 시에네 다 친제 안에 부져서 코나래 현술라야 자서 메마와데 소나 아니 잠도 다 레버 트바인 바sabja 숨바데.
So then once one has determined this properly, and one understands that the Buddha is the unique teacher of the refuge, the Dharma is the actual refuge, the Dharma of nirvana, the cessation of suffering is the actual refuge, and then the Sangha is the assistance that help you to achieve actualized refuge, the actual refuge of nirvana within yourself. Then when one understands this properly, then from your heart, you go for refuge to Buddha, Dharma, Sangha as your sole refuge. Then you also form at the same time realization that other beings or other things outside of these are not the true refuge. They might provide you with some kind of partial assistance or partial help or whatever, but they're not the ultimate true refuge that you're seeking, and therefore you're not going to follow them for this ultimate purpose. You have that kind of determination, mental fixed understanding of that in that way, and then likewise with your speech, you go for refuge with that kind of understanding and feeling. Then likewise in terms of all of the precepts that the refuge provides to you, the things that you're supposed to practice and avoid, if you go for refuge by observing all of those, then you've fulfilled then the components of this aspect of refuge.
안에 가서 오래 접수선에 나와 차별에 바세가 안에 점주 납자들라 안에 가비 납자다 두비 납자다 안에 투모 납자다 점주 파연 남바사자가 추발라 소와기 담 시사 마보죠 라리 쳐몰라 오 대다마 셰와차니 안에 수신도 라베 안에 점주 미동시 미양바차니 안에 디지 파연 탐제 시신 중 안에 뭐냐 바차나 아니 가소래 朋友就是说有朋友对，安那是其他的安那下巴拿去种啊。
So then, once one is gone for refuge in that way, in that fashion, the third aspect of refuge, then it's essential to actually follow the precepts of refuge here. Precepts, there are positive things that one is supposed to do, things that one is supposed to positively do, and then there are negative things that one's supposed to abstain from. So these are explained in detail in the, for example, the great exposition of the stages of the path, and so one should study those and learn them and follow them. And then likewise, within texts such as that, there's explanations of the benefits of maintaining one's refuge. Once one has developed it, one has to preserve it, and recognizing the benefits of that help to reinforce it. And then similarly, the negative consequences of violating one's own refuge, these are explained in detail and should be learned in that way.
Oh yeah, that看到这里是呢，就是做完了，安尼就穷告诉没大把的，俺这东亚广吧，咱们就钱，这里有的没，这里人都没那边7月结束这把的，7月结束样，安尼没得民主吧，来干那个结束涨的，安尼那边来的，俺每个月来3万一张，俺这结的，安尼东亚把都没把2个万一张，俺这东亚广吧。我听你我的没大把的，俺这东亚广播的，咱们就我钱，咱们说你，俺那我是钱，就是做把的我是钱，俺那就穷人告诉咱们这老家的了，开车学的连带了老家，连个话来配车吧，来马车话的马车吧，车话去没事吧这一干了，俺那给这个来了，让多去出行的车吧的，俺老家车一干了，就穷人，俺那去他们家。
So then, as far as the refuge, there's different types of it, depending on which aspect of the path one is talking about here. So with respect to the person of lesser scope, here that person is primarily, has fear of falling into the lower realms of existence in the next life. And therefore, they're going for refuge and observing the precepts of refuge from that perspective. So such a person then has to, as is explained in the stages of the path systems, that such a person has to recognize that they are liable, first of all, think about the impermanence in the sense of death, impending death, that this life is rapidly disappearing and death will soon arrive. And therefore, fear of that fact and death rapidly approaching. And then in addition to the fact of death, there is the fact that negative karma, that one will have to experience rebirth by the force of the positive or negative karma that one's created. Therefore, especially being concerned for a negative karma and the results of that and rebirth into the lower realms of existence. So such a person, if they have that kind of understanding that death is coming and that they'll be reborn into the lower states of existence from negative karma they performed, then out of that fear and understanding of that the Buddha Dharma Sangha are able to provide protection from that, they have confidence in them, in the three jewels in that way, and then they go for refuge, and that's the basic form of refuge for the person of smaller scope.
Oh, teaching to that, and doing that simple lion, and it comes to consider a chayakana. I said to the Meneve, and it's sure some, she or the Midrova, and I saw the Majeba, then to have me dance on the tower in the city in a young, and it do not get a sin and Meba, no Meba, so I call Chi, they do not get a sin on my deba. And do not have that like, do not have that. Or tell. Didn't tell love Jala, and it Dugungi Yemida, Golangi Panjas, Uber Pan Sambi Gone, or didn't catch Love Cherry Gala.